Welcome to SFH Presents One More Podcast.
Welcome to SFH Presents One More Podcast. I'm your host, Zac Polk. I got here with me Ken Miller. That's your name, correct? You got it blocked here on the screen, but I'm making sure I recollected correctly. Ken, well, first let me give the disclaimer. I am not a medical professional. If we ever talk about anything serious, reach out to the proper channels there. But Ken, what does still fucking here mean to you?
Man, I love that question. It means I exist. That means I'm breathing. And I shouldn't be breathing. I should not be here. I should not be talking with you due to my experiences or the things that I created in the environments that I ran in. But I'm here today, man, and I'm just so excited to have this conversation with you. So let's do this thing.
It was funny when we first started this out. The co-host that I had, he'll be back on occasionally, but he's a triple amputee Marine veteran. And the first few episodes we had various. We had a girl that was a stripper for a long time and came on to talk about how her life's changed. She sells cars now. She's the top salesman where she works, and we've went through the gamut of other amputees and addicts and all these different things. But it's also that every single fucking person on this planet is a survivor. You don't have to go through something horrific to have this story of something, of some trauma, of some event, of some choices that we made to get to where we're at. And I'm glad you're still fucking here, man. We just met 10 minutes ago. I feel like we're already friends.
For sure.
So tell me a little bit about. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, to be on the call, you have to be a survivor. But I've known multitude of individuals that did not survive.
Yeah.
The streets or the penitentiary or life itself or them. They took themselves out. So yes, I'm a survivor. And this call or the people who are listening are survivors. I honor that, but I also honor the memory of those that did not survive. So.
Yeah. Oftentimes, you had said some choices you made sounded like were part of what you survived from, which 99 times out of 100 ends up being the case for everyone. Which I think is why I started this podcast. For me, it was that my choices weren't, it was never drugs or anything like that, but a lot of things had led to a really dark depression for me, to where I was suicidal most days. I woke up thinking about that. I went to sleep thinking about that. And it was just a really dark place. And when I was in those dark times in the past, I would use my platform as a musician, as a touring musician, to post this on reach out to people on Facebook, be as vulnerable as possible and say, hey, I'm here if you need me. And in those times, I would feel better about myself. It would help me get a little out of the dark. So I'm like, this is perfect. This podcast, being able to do this, was never about whether we got 10 million views or 100 views or 10 views. It was about finding other people that needed to hear this shit, that needed to know they weren't alone in the whole thing. But what is it with, you reached out to me through email. I've had a few people on like that. Usually it's like, I'll have a little bit of background. I know very little about your story, about why you're here to talk with me, and let me know what's up with that.
Sure. It's a little bit unusual. And there are things that, are my humanness that may have not been the journey of others. But there's a lot in common. There's nothing, quote unquote, unique about me. I'm a human that has had a gamut of experience. I just had some experiences that for most individuals of my background do not have. And when I say of my background, we'll get to that. Real quick, I'm 63, just had my birthday, October 15th.
Happy birthday.
My mother, thank you. My mother was a white teenage runaway girl. And my dad was a black drug dealer and pimp in New York City in 1962. And she got pregnant, age 17, 18. And she put me up for adoption because good Irish girls were not having mixed children back in '62.
Wow.
And today I have no problem with that. I did have a problem with that for many years. But anyway, I was put up for adoption at birth. I was adopted by a white couple. But then they realized my tan wasn't going away. And I was put back into the system. I'm serious. 3 months later, you can see it on my paperwork. And I did 6
Wow.
years of foster homes, which was not great on identifying, who I was I wanted, was I,
Right.
desired as a child, da 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 da. But I knew that when I was 4 years old, I didn't have a mom. Anyway, I got adopted at age 6, Irene and Sam Miller, upstate New York. I grew up until I was 12, and then I moved to Anchorage, Alaska. So I grew up in Alaska. So let's
Wow.
get number one. I'm a biracial child, foster child, growing up in Anchorage, Alaska. I was what they call precocious. I believe I was born with some intelligence that allowed me to become what they call a National Merit Scholar at the age of 17. I was accepted to Harvard. I went to Dartmouth College. But within 1 month of entering Dartmouth College, you could say I was a full blown alcoholic. It was my first drink, and I was just genetically an alcoholic. And so I struggled with alcohol and drugs, graduated from Dartmouth, went to my first treatment center in 1984. I got cleaned up, did 2 years, sober and clean. And then I went into I was in the corporate world, then I relapsed. It wasn't even really a relapse. I just chose to start drinking again. I thought I was all right. And I was to spend the next 20 years homeless on the streets. I'm also a 3-time convicted felon. I
20
spent many
years
years.
homeless.
Oh, yes. And I'm talking homeless. I was a panhandler. I was a hustler. I was a criminal. I was a pimp. I was a prostitute. I was a uh, armed robber, kidnapping. I did some stuff out there. And I
Wow.
ended up doing 3 prison terms as an Ivy League graduate. Worked for Kodak, worked for 3M Corporation. And finally, in 2004, September 22nd, I was arrested. And I've been clean and sober since September 23rd, 2004. So I just celebrated 21 years clean and sober. But I did
Wow.
3 years on that last bit, got out in '07 with no skills. And today, which is real important, I own 5 businesses. I speak all over the country. I write books. I
That's
have
incredible.
employees. I have contractors. And more importantly, I give back. I give back to my community, and especially I give back to a specific community of Black men, young Black men, because I know what it's like not to have a mentor or to have someone that you can look up to and
Yeah.
emulate as a Black man. So that's just a very high level version of my story.
Okay. Um, you have run the gamut of what one of a lot of the things you've been through
Mhm.
are someone's entire trauma story, but you've been through sounds like 20 trauma stories, and to come out at the end of it, it's one of those things where you see people, we both have known people who just couldn't pull themselves out, who
Right.
couldn't come through that thing and get clean and sober and become successful later after all that. It's so easy to put a ceiling on yourself when you're in that situation. Um, I've never been through any of those things, and I can't possibly imagine or even fully relate to prison, to homelessness, to being adopted and left in the system, so on and so forth. And it's almost like you talk about, your young history of going to school and being accepted into these colleges and probably scoring high on everything.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like at some point that your intelligence was actually working against you when you were going through all the hell?
For sure. Yeah, your
Yeah.
intelligence works because then you have the ability to rationalize and intellectualize your choices. And I can go big words that are inimical to your long term well being, that are bad for you. So I
Yeah.
can justify anything. There's also a term we use called situational ethics. And what I did is I had a very, very comfortable with situational ethics. I could justify a kidnapping. I could justify, pimping 14-year-old girls. I could justify it easy. I can justify turning a trick,
Yeah.
and so, but then what I can do is, because I have some intelligence, and also what I had on the streets was I had a look that was non-threatening. I don't look like a thug. I've tried
Right.
to kill people on 3 occasions. I've gone to kill people, in the drug game and
Yeah.
prostitution game for that matter. And again, anything I say on this conversation is not to make me look like I'm some bad dude, because I'm not. I'm a kind and gentle man today. What
Yeah.
I hope to do is share some truths that most people won't talk about, okay? And say that this guy is so comfortable in his walk and in his skin that I will discuss things and talk about things that most people won't. And I love the title of this podcast because, 90% of the podcast, 99%, I don't use profanity, but I may go there. I
Yeah.
may go there because I'll go there, which is that past experience
Yeah.
and how I handle myself. I did not talk like this on the streets. Believe that.
Right.
Okay. But if I go back there as we discuss things, I may throw an F bomb there.
Yeah.
I may use the word bitch.
Yeah,
you know,
we wanted to be unfiltered because what's
yeah,
still fucking here,
I
it's
love
it's
it.
like there's the clinical aspect of like trying to help each other, that vanilla version of things that I feel like a lot of people just don't relate to, including me. Like I want things to be raw, I want things to be real. I'm a very, just as you were saying, I don't mind being vulnerable about my story. I don't mind talking about the depths of things and going completely into my mistakes and
Mhm.
trying to not only learn myself, which will tell you, this 2 years of this podcast has really improved my mindset. Like I'm definitely still deal with depression, but it's not as intense. I don't have suicidal ideation anymore. Like that went away a little before the podcast, but it's improved me a lot. Like being able to have these raw conversations. So I appreciate you acknowledging that.
Yeah, I've tried to commit suicide. I've OD'd. I mean, that's again. I hate to use the term, that's part and parcel of
Yeah,
being on the streets. It's part and parcel of an individual that has lost hope. That's
yeah,
what it's part and parcel of. I have I had no conception that life would be without pain in the future or present. Okay. And when you get to that point, you're like, why do I keep fighting to survive or keep fighting for the next day when all I know when I wake up, I'm going to be with me, and therefore I'm going to do something that makes me feel less than, and or I'm going to be in usually emotional pain. My overriding emotion on the streets was fear. Period. Fear.
yeah,
I feared the cops. I feared the people that I had ripped off. I feared other drug dealers. I feared people. I fucked with a lot of people.
yeah.
It's so cool. I can say this. I tell, so I mentor men all over this country.
Hmm.
And, I tell people one of the reasons why I don't make a lot of amends or apologies is because I don't fuck with people today. I
Yeah.
don't. I don't. I treat people with kindness. I'm writing a book on respect, a whole book on respect. And
I
what
love
does
that.
that mean in the boardroom? What does it mean in the streets? What does it mean in the family? What does it mean in your community? Respect and disrespect. Whole book on it. And hopefully it'll be a value added so people can understand. Because people think that people get killed or hurt over drugs, sex, or money. No, they get killed over disrespect. The manifestation, the example was the drug, sex, or money. But
Right.
it's not that. It's that how you ripped me off? You took money from one of my girls? You said what to me?
Right.
You called me a bitch? Oh, it's on. It's on. And again, I work. It was so much I had to do to change who I am today. Because if you call me a punk, or you call me a bitch, or you call me a nigger, and you're a white guy, it was It's what we call automatic.
Yeah.
Because what happens is I've ingrained a script. I have a script I have to play out, and it's instantaneous. And I tell people I've taken away the power of words. You can call me that. Zach, you can call me that right now. I'd be like, I don't know why you're saying it, but you
Right.
can call me that. I've taken away the power of that. And I say to everybody, I think I'm 100. As long as you don't threaten my family or put my family in danger, we cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Believe me, I've hurt people. I've put people in the hospital. People have put me in the hospital. And I always tell people, I'm going to get some. Okay. You may win. I'm going to get some. So that's been a lot of years. But the
Yeah.
one thing I do want to say on this is that in the end, we take away that power of the words. And now I will treat you, my fellow human being, my fellow child of God, if you so believe, with respect. So
Which
anyway, that's just
which
part of
which
it.
is so lacking in our
Mhm.
society. I don't know at what point. I mean, it's always been possible. There's always places where disrespect is common, but it seems like the absolute norm between human beings, especially on the internet. I do feel that the more that I'm out, like when I go out and work, I'm still
Yeah.
an entertainer. When I go out and
Mhm.
work and I'm in groups of people, black, white, gay, everything,
Mhm.
everyone's cool. Most people don't give a shit. You know, they're like, don't be an asshole. That's really, it's that MLK quote of like, you know, don't judge a man by the color of his skin, but by the content of his character.
Good character, yeah.
That goes for everyone. Like just be a good person. It's not that hard to be respectful and be a good person.
So all the guys and women who have been to the penitentiary will know exactly what I'm talking about. We have a term in the penitentiary. He's a cell warrior.
Okay.
And a cell warrior, and that's what people on social media are. They're cell warriors. That's all they are. A cell warrior is when the doors are closed and you're locked in your cell. They talk shit.
Yeah.
They scream out things. They talk shit, da 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 da. And then when the doors open, first of all, they don't want the doors open at the same time because you're on a different tier or whatever. And they talking
Yeah.
shit
Yeah.
to you on another tier. But when they open up, all of a sudden, they're either not coming out for chow, or
Or they're real damn
they
quiet.
buzz. You can hit the buzzer, and they say, "Hey, lock me back up," because I've been talking shit because I'm a cell warrior.
Yeah.
Because we hide behind this digital platform, but a part of that, and so they're disrespectful. But a big part of it is, how do you take it?
That's
And
true.
why does that make you so sensitive? I mean, I still don't like criticism,
Right.
but why does it make you so? But like on a scale to one, see, I mean, where we move from is the famous example is you can't bump me or step on my shoes in the club. Okay. Us
Right.
who've grown up in the club or the bar and everything, you bump someone by accident. And why does that so bother you?
Right.
And why are you so sensitive that you're willing to fight or kill a man? I've seen too many videos of guys getting punched on the street and their head hits the sidewalk and they're dead.
Yep.
They're dead. Because I never thought about that when I was fighting. And people probably weren't thinking about that when they were fighting me or beating the hell out of me. I've had my
Right.
jaw broken twice, my eye orbital broken, and my nose broken. Okay.
Damn.
Jaw twice. I mean, split. I
That's
got hit so
wild.
hard. It is wild. It sucked.
Yeah.
Because your jaw is wired. But I've been there, bro. I've been there. And I've hurt people, you know. Just it's the nature of the environments that I found myself with my Ivy League education.
It's
Should
incredible.
never. Yeah,
It's
it was.
but I get what you're saying. It's like imagine the scenario of you bump somebody or someone bumps you in the club
Mhm.
and you just move on with the rest of the day. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And you just go, you forget it, you move on, or you start a fight, you get kicked out, you get arrested, you hurt somebody, you kill somebody. Like
Mhm.
it is pretty crazy how some people can respond to things like that.
Yeah. I mean, I know too many stories. I was locked up with the guys. Why are you in here? So first of all, in prison, you never ask someone why they're locked up, why they're in there.
Okay.
That's disrespectful. It's against the rules. Okay. Because if you want to find out, you just have someone on the outside get their paper because it's public information.
Yeah.
Why they're, except for one guy that I was in the penitentiary who wasn't in the public information. I just might to say it's a crazy story. So I had this like normal white guy. We're working in the school. Okay, so we have
Hmm.
a great job, pay number, great job. But he looked like he was about 70 years old, 65, 70. But we became friends. And I said, I probably told him what I was, because you can always self-reveal why you're in
Right.
there. That's up to you. And I said, when are you getting out, or what do you got for time? And he said, I'm never getting out. I'm like, really? And I was like, okay. And then he said, yeah, I'll let you know. And he said, he was in Massachusetts, and he was a part of the like the SDS Weathermen,
Hmm.
these violent organizations, and they ended up like sticking up a Brinks truck. Anyway, the gang ended up killing 2 cops.
Ooh.
He went underground for like 30 years. He said, Ken, I went underground. I got married. I had kids. I did everything above board. And then he got into like a fender bender. And because he got into fender bender, for whatever reason, they did his fingerprints because he had a fake name, faked everything. They call it went underground.
Yeah.
And because that's what they call him. He was a radical in the early 70s. And they found out who he was. And he said, he was given a life sentence. He could have gotten a death penalty back in the 70s, but this was Massachusetts, gave a life sentence. And he said, I couldn't go to prison in Massachusetts because I'd killed a cop, or the gang had killed the cop. He never said he killed it, but
Right.
you still get the same penalty. And because the guards would have killed him. They would have killed him, because that's their people. You killed the
Right.
cop, and you're in you're in GP, general population. So they sent him out to Nevada and hid his information. And
Okay.
yeah, so
Fuck.
even the guards there. I mean, it's 30 years later. It's not their state, dot dot dot. Because you could be a guard in Walpole or whatever in Massachusetts, and it might have been a relative, or you knew, the gentleman's that had gotten killed.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's I don't know went on that little story, but
Oh, that's
again,
fascinating.
yeah, it is
That's
fascinating.
that
Huh?
sucks, man. I mean, it's funny because I think you'll agree with this. Like as you get older, you kind of soften and you sort of like the wisdom starts to set in of things, and you become
Yes.
a bit of a different person of how you approach a lot of things.
Hmm.
And it sucks that it seems like he sort of had his, you know, fixed his life, built a family, and even though he had done and been a part of some shit, when I assume he was probably a kid, that's the other thing that it's
He was at ease
troublesome.
with it. He was so much, and that's one of the things I loved about him. So, Zach, in a penitentiary, it's racial. It's all racial. I
Yeah.
wasn't no minimum custody camp. I was in medium custody. I had an escape on my record. Another story, another day. Plus, I had some violence on my record. And anyway, so I'm medium custody. I'm not max, but I'm medium,
Yeah.
and medium yard. And it's broken down into 3 main groups: Hispanic, Black, and white. And first of all, that's why I love. Sometimes I see these movies and they got like black guys bunking with white guys and shit like that. I'm
Yeah.
like, unless it's a dorm. Oh, hell no. Not in a 2-man cell. No. Now in jail, they'll do that.
Right.
But once you get to the penitentiary, it's a world, it's a community. So anyway, and I usually, and this I'm gonna say usually, you would never be sitting and having a meal with another race, okay? Because you sit at your tables. The third time I went to prison, I was a different person. Because the first 2 times I hung out with my community, we'll say. But my community was other drug dealers, and gang members. Okay. Predominantly Crips. And the third time I had a complete change of who I was and what I was trying to accomplish. So I did not come back to prison. And so I sat down, especially with this Hispanic gentleman. I sat down with him quite a bit. And then I literally associated with this older white gentleman. In fact, I had a few Hispanics that I associated with. And I was cool with that. And I never, look, I had respect in the penitentiary, even though I was not some bad dude. But I was respect because people respected what I did. So what did I do? I wrote letters for illiterate black men. I wrote letters
Hmm.
for them because they can't write and they're illiterate. I didn't even know they existed, but they literally are illiterate. They cannot read or write.
Wow.
And so they would come to me, some for pay, because you get paid in stamps, and some for free. But I would do it, no problem, because the shot caller looked out for me also and treated me. And everybody knew I was educated. And again, I worked in the school. I was the only black that worked in the school, dot, 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 dot. And I didn't fuck with nobody.
Right.
This is the third time I was in a penitentiary. I knew what to do and what not to do. I didn't gamble, no sex, no drugs, no alcohol,
Right.
no gang affiliations. I knew how to circumvent the penitentiary. But anyway, so I had respect. And then I was a great basketball player, and I was a great weightlifter. Okay, I came in second, strongest man on the yard. Even though those guys who were strong, they just didn't compete. Okay,
Yeah.
but yeah, I did very very well.
Wow.
Physically and guys respect that.
Yeah, it seems like that would be. I mean, if I were in, and obviously you're under different circumstance because your third time in, and I'm sure some people
Mhm.
knew that. But
Yeah.
if I can
Oh yeah.
imagine that I was going to be in prison, that's the way I would want to go. I don't want to. I don't want to go in there like a tough dude. I want to go in there and get respect, like in a be a good guy and get respect. And I'm sure it wouldn't work quite as easy as your first time walking in there.
Man, and it may not be easy no matter what you do.
Yeah.
Because if they mark you, so if you come in there with a bad jacket, you're through. You might as well just PC up, okay? And that goes protective custody. A jacket is your charges. So if you have a sex offense, and I
Right.
mean a child sex offense, unfortunately, I knew a lot of rapists. You you're going to have problems, okay? Because we're going to find out,
Yeah.
okay? The whites will find out on the whites, the blacks will find out on the blacks, okay? Hispanics will find out on the Hispanics, and of all the groups, the ones probably the worst are going to be the Hispanics. They don't play. They just don't play because they're so gang affiliated. You're going to be Sereno. The whole yard is Sereno. You can't be a Norteño on the yard. So I can go into that for like an hour, but the key thing, the reason I can go into it because my job in the school was English as a second language with the Hispanics, right? The
Okay.
essays, and I don't speak Spanish, but I wanted to work in the school. So I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
I speak French. I speak
Sure.
French. Okay, there weren't any French inmates that I knew of.
Not a lot of Frenchies or French Canadians in the prison,
Yeah.
huh?
Oh, but it was so funny. I go in there like that first day, and I'm like a little concerned because you know I don't speak Spanish, and but hey, ese canal, hey, don't worry about it, man. I was like, because I'm trying to say I don't really speak real good Spanish. I knew a few words. He
Yeah.
said, "We speak English. We just don't want to work. We don't want to work outside either. We want to be in the school too. So you do your side, we'll do our side. Everybody's happy." Okay. I'm like,
That's fucking great.
yo soy feliz. I'm happy. Oh, so, and again, the beautiful thing is I can laugh, about prison. I can laugh about the streets. Yeah, there's a lot of trauma, but some of the best dudes I ever met were in the prison. Because again, let me go back to that part about the respect. You will learn respect and understand respect, or you're going to have consequences. Okay. You don't get no gun. You might have a shank, but you got no gunner. And anyway, you're going to learn it. So one of the most important things when I speak on this subject is we have to define what respect is. And respect is acknowledgement of a person's position or stature within a community, period. And the community could be your family, community could be the boardroom, community could be the streets, the community could be the village, the community could be prison. But it's a community. And each community has rules on how you acknowledge that person's stature. So in every race, and at least all the prisons I've been in 3, you have what are called shot callers. And they have mad respect. And then you also have guys who, because they've survived and they've done it so long. I remember there was one Hispanic guy, must have been 70, 75, 5'2", 3. And he wasn't a part of the California gangs because he was Texas. And they still gave him mad respect because he put his in. He had been banging since the 50s. And I sat and talked with him about, being Hispanic in the heroin gang environment in the 50s in Texas. And guys, and you can read tats and all that, but you guys gave him mad respect. So anyway, I had to learn, especially my first time down. And then but the crazy thing is this, Zach, is that people understand respect and give respect in the penitentiary. Then we get back out. People wonder why we sometimes have difficulty getting back into society is because you don't know the rules. You don't know the rules. And so what you don't think is disrespect is disrespect. And we have a script and we have our rules from our communities. And it took me a few years. Example, I get out of the community and I go to visit my brother up in Alaska. And I haven't seen my nephew in like 10 years. And we're going up the escalator in Nordstrom's, nice old Nordstrom's. I'm clean 4 or 5 years at this point, but I've been down for 3. And he turns to me in the escalator and he's like, "Unc, were you somebody's bitch in the penitentiary?" And I looked and I said, "What?" I'm just out of my brain because he's my nephew. I love him. Okay. Hadn't seen him in 10 years, but I love him. I got to the landing. I took out my phone. I called my brother Mike. I said, Mike Jr., your son said this, 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 and this. And he said, put him on the phone. Because he knew, he understood. That's a code word. You don't call another black man a bitch or a punk on the streets or in the penitentiary. Okay.
Yeah.
And I gave him the phone. I walked away. He came back 30 seconds later. Unc, my bad. It'll never happen again. I apologize. Well, he just went on. He's like 18 years old, 19. But you see, I had that. He's probably the first person that's ever called me that I didn't. Well, he was the first. And then there was another one that called me that. And I didn't hit. I mean, I've changed it. Remember, I took away the power, but I had to take literally a year or two and identify what are the words. What are the words? And believe me, I've taken away the power of the words, but I tell everybody I go on podcasts, I say I'll never, put hands on somebody unless they're threatening my family or I feel like my family's in danger or I'm in danger physically, not emotionally or intellectually. But if somebody spit in my face, I keep pondering that one. Would I? Because, we've had that happen in sports more. It happened this year, in pro football. And I've had that happen to me. I always tell people, I think I hit the guy before the spit hit me, literally. Dutch Harbor, Alaska, on the fishing boat. Oh, really? It was a crab boat. And I hit him. Yeah, I hit him. I got kicked off the boat.
That is one step further than words, for sure.
Yeah, but what does that and we could talk about this for a while, but what does that represent? And what it
Yeah.
represents is that you are less than me. And really what you're saying is you're not going to do anything that's going to harm me. I just spit in your face, bitch,
Yeah.
punk ass bitch. And what you going to do? And there's people who are big and bad who have done that, and it came back to bite them in the ass.
Yeah.
Okay. But the reason you do that is because you feel that that man is less than. What a terrible thing to even identify another, because we're in the end, we're in the community of humankind. And again, depending on where your spiritual, we're all children of God. So why would I disrespect you, make you feel on purpose less than? Well, I'm doing it because I'm angry. I
Right.
understand why we do that. I understand what we do with our anger. And so I spent years working on, I spent years working on anger, and fear. But so, we talk about resilience, and we're talking about, coming back, and we're talking about mental health and emotional health. But I want to say this too, Zach, and this is real important, I believe, for the listeners to hear. I, Ken Miller, age 63, living in Bellingham, Washington, am well. I'm well, bro. I do life well. I circumvent the setbacks well. And so why do I say that? And the reason I say that is I don't have to spend all my time trying to get better, trying to fix me, trying to read the next self-help book or podcast or YouTube, talk on, self-healing. I'm cool. And how do you know I'm cool? Because I know by how I treat my fellow man, and especially how I treat myself. I treat myself with honor. I've forgiven myself. I'm not shame-based. Yeah, I'll make a mistake here and there. I'll make an amends and I'll move on. But remember, I said I don't make a lot of apologies or amends because I don't fuck with people.
It's pretty
That's
simple.
simple.
Yeah.
But I'm well. And I see so many people, they spend so much time getting weller or getting better or, and I'm not saying there's many people that need it. I'm not saying
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But all the time that I'm spending trying to get well, it circumvents my ability to work with others or to spend time, productive, beneficial time with family.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
Doesn't that, when you say that ties into, a lot of people have a very perpetual victim mentality, and it may not be a
mhm,
victim of someone else, it may be a victim of themselves. And you can get trapped in that spiral of thinking that, I mean, let's be honest. I mean, there's some acceptance as we get older. I was talking about wisdom. There's some acceptance of, there's certain shit that you may not be good at or that you may struggle with. And sometimes it's not a matter of changing that or not, or getting rid of that. It's learning how to reason with that, how to cope with that, and just live your life, not dwelling on it, spending all your time on it, etc.
I love it. Boy, I'm gonna riff on this one. So one of the things I teach or I talk to guys, I say, hey, check this out. When you're telling stories, there's usually two different ways of telling a story. You're either the hero or the victim. And try to find a middle ground where you're not either the hero or the victim. The difficulty with being perpetual victimhood is that you take away agency. You take away your part in the circumstance. Because when you're a victim, I am a victim of a person, situation, or environment. Okay. And therefore, I don't have to look at me. I don't have to take my responsibility. Bro, so I just taught a class 2 days ago, a workshop in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm in Bellingham. And we talked about, it's about self-esteem. But one of the things we talk about is we state, I am responsible. And there's like 10 different ones. I am responsible for my self-esteem. I am responsible for my happiness. I am responsible for the choices I make. I am responsible for my ethics, morals, and the way I'm going to carry myself. I am responsible. It
That's
is
that's a hard letter.
foundation. Yeah, but
It's a
it's a
hard letter
foundation
for a
of
lot of people
self-esteem.
to say.
Yeah, it is, but it's a hard one a lot of times when you don't know to say it
Yeah.
or to know to look at it. So I'm telling the listeners, take a look about what are you responsible for? I had a play, but I do want to make a caveat or make an exception to this. So in the programs, the anonymous programs, they talk about that you had a responsibility for literally everything that's happened to you. Step 4. Okay. And there are truly, truly innocent people that had no part in anything in the evil or the pain that happened to them. Okay. There's shit that happened to me
100,000%.
when I was 6, 7 years old. It's not my fucking fault
Right.
that I forgot to vacuum the floor, so I'm gonna get beat up by my father. It's not my fault that he shot my mom 6 times, even though I thought it was at one point. I took that on. Okay. It wasn't my fault when that man raped me. He raped me because he wanted to rape me and take advantage of me in the weak situation or environment I put myself in, but it's not my fault. You
Right.
don't do that to another man or woman for that matter. Okay? So, you want to talk about that victimhood. I left that. I am not a victim. I'm not a victim of me, the environment, or others. I'm so big on this, Zach. And this is so important, I believe, to recovery from drugs and alcohol. Because what happens with the addict or alcoholic is many times they think if I deal with the antecedents, the reasons, the environment that created my drinking or drugging, then I can drink and drug. Because remember, the goal of an alcoholic or an addict is very simple. How do we drink or drug without pain on the back end? Without pain on the back end. It's not that
Right.
we want to minimize or whatever. We're just trying to do this because we've got all these examples of pain from our drinking and drugging. That's what makes us an addict or an alcoholic. And how can we do it? So if I deal with the beatings when I was a kid, if I deal with the rape, if I deal with the shooting, if I deal with all these things, which I went to counseling and treatment, and I thought I dealt with all, hey, I can drink and drug like anybody else. Well, let's just talk about drink. I can drink. I can have a couple beers and watch a football game. I keep it real simple, bro. And so that's one of the reasons why it's real important that we understand it's not about the antecedents. It's not about the environment. Sure, the environment can put you where somebody offers you the first joint or
Right.
the first beer. People ask me, why'd you start drinking? That's what you do in college? And that's how you get laid in college? That's the only way I can get laid in college. I had to be drunk so I could ask the girl, hey, you want to hook up? And the girl
Yeah.
had to be drunk 90% of the time too to say, hey, yeah, we can hook up. That's
It's just
college.
that social lubricant, man.
Yeah, it's the club scene,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's rock and roll clubs. Because it is another thing, Zach, and you probably love this. I'm a rock and roller, dude. I'm a rock and roller. You know what my
Love
first
it.
8-track was?
What's that?
Nazareth Hair of the Dog.
Let's go.
Now you're messing with her. A son of a bitch. Now you're messing with her, son of a bitch. Love hurts. Please don't
Yeah.
Judas me. Treat me as you like to be treated. And then,
Classic.
Van Halen, Ted Nugent, Stranglehold, Led Zeppelin. I loved Led Zeppelin. Okay. I loved Black Sabbath.
Yeah.
I was a little different, bro. And then, bro, I got into Metallica. I'm from Seattle, and they're a West Coast band. I got into Metallica early on Ride the Lightning. Man, come on. I was a
Seek and
Motley
Destroy.
Crue fan. And then I love Pantera. In fact, when I look at you and I'm thinking about you, I'm thinking about Dimebag.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking about, bro. Damage Plan.
Rest in peace, man.
Yeah, R.I.P. for sure. Big
Yeah.
Tool fan. I'm a big, I could just go on and on. But I'm a heavy
I
metal.
fucking love Tool.
Sepultura.
Yeah.
Celtic Frost. Talk to me.
Little fun fact: I toured with Max Cavalera from Sepultura.
Oh my goodness.
when he was in his other
baby.
band. Yep.
Brazil. Yep.
He was a strange guy. I was on the Ozfest 2000. I worked on the whole tour, and I had a band pass, so I was part of the family. And most of the bands, backstage, we had catering. We would all sit together. We'd hang out. You'd hang out with, whether it was Incubus or Godsmack or Pantera was on the tour. There were a bunch of people. Actually, I don't think Pantera was on that.
Yeah, because it was. Yeah. If it was 2000.
Yeah, I don't think they were on
tough.
it. I'm trying to think of the headline. It was so long ago. Anyway, Max Cavalera never came off his bus. I got to go on the bus one time and interview him. I got to say, "Hey, Max, you want to say something for Lynn Straight's birthday?" And he's like, "Soulfly Tribe," like in his typical Max voice, and that was it. You never saw that man for 2 straight months of touring. Almost everyone else was out. He was just to himself the whole time.
Let me tell you one of my stories. So I'm in Seattle in the early 90s. I go to an NA meeting, and we get out of the NA meeting up in I went to the Narcotics Anonymous meeting. Get out. We're gonna go to Toshi's Teriyaki, have a teriyaki bowl in the U District. Okay, we were up in Linwood. Went to the meeting, and I turned to the guy next to me, and I said to him, "What do you do?" He said, "I'm in a band." I said, "That's cool." Now, in Seattle, that doesn't mean shit, okay? This is 1991, summer of 91. I said, "Well, what's the name of the band?" He said, "Alice in Chains." I said, "Awesome, dude." And I said, "Well, what's your name?" He said, "Lane." And I said, "Man, that's awesome. I love your song, Man in the Box." It had just come out. This is before Nirvana. This is before Pearl Jam. This is summer. This is before Rusty Cage, Rusty Cage, Soundgarden, before all this. But I knew that song because it was that was the first grunge song that hit. Now, this is my truth. Anybody want to push back? Feel free. But I've also looked at this over the years. So this is funny. So we go to Toshi's Teriyaki in the U District. We're sitting at these trundle tables, which is like a big picnic table, eating my beef bowl. And his girlfriend, she's very well known in this world, and unfortunately she died from heroin too. Demery looks over to me and she said, "Are you a mulatto?" Which nobody had ever. They've called me some things in my life. I'm like in shock. And I'll never forget, Lane looked at it. He's like, "Shut the fuck up. You say the stupidest shit." I'll never forget. True story. Not the first time I said it. I was Lane Staley, phenomenal, just phenomenal. Wow. But I grew up Mother Love Bone, Andy Wood. Everybody loved Andy Wood. I didn't know him. But remember, these guys were all heroin. So they were in and out of NA. Narcotics Anonymous, Central District, Broadway, all that. But anyway, I could go on to some more grunge story. I'll just tell you my last grunge story. I'm in treatment at Cedar Hills for my drug addiction. And I'm laying on the bed in this dorm listening to the N 107.7 Seattle. And they had mostly the alternative. And Smells Like Teen Spirit came on. This is like September of 91, before it was literally released nationally, because they get it first, Sub Pop and all that. And I perked up, and then I sat up, and I said to myself, this is the fucking best song that has come out since Welcome to the Jungle. So it had been like 5 years. I said, this is going to blow. First time I've heard. The only time in my life I called up the radio station because they said the name at the end, but I couldn't understand what it was. Niviani, because I couldn't understand what the name. I didn't understand the name. I never could get, until later on. I'm like, who was that song and band? Stopped me in my tracks. And I knew it because there's a type of song, it's called an anthem. We Will Rock You is another example of an anthem.
Right.
This is an anthem, and it was so extraordinary. And then anyway, so that Rusty Cage, Mudhoney, I mean, all those. I mean, I went to Rock Candy, I went to Reba. I'm this black guy on the streets that's going to all these great Central Tavern. I was just in that period. Then I knew people who were connected, because I don't want to mention people who are still alive and say that they were in the program or anything like that.
Right. But yeah, I could only imagine, man. It always brings this weird question to my mind where you look at the Scott Weilands and the Lane Staleys and the guys that died from heroin who made this great music. And of course, man, music's important, but it's not more important than a person's life. I'm not at all trying to make that statement, but I'm like, would they have written that great music without the heroin? Seems like it was
Probably
such a part of the process.
Because, let's take it that different. Would they have written that without the drugs? Because as you know, since the 60s, before that, if you know anything about jazz, it was Charlie Parker was a heroin addict. Okay.
Yeah.
I could take this all the way back. One, if you have talent, you have talent.
Of course.
My thoughts, it would have just been a different song.
Right.
This would have been a different song. Would you have written, I don't know, maybe he was, if the needle and the damage done. Okay. I'm not saying he was high, but it's about heroin.
Right.
It's about losing one of his band members. Okay. And then there's songs that the people who wrote them would tell you. I mean, if you let's take away every rock song that the individual who wrote it had smoked weed or had drank.
Right.
That within 24 hours or 48 hours of that song, the rock and roll canon, they call it, would be very small. Okay.
Yeah. You'd lose about 90% of everything that we've ever loved.
Who's sober? Is Ted Nugent sober? I think he's sober. He
sounds right. I don't know if he was sober when he was writing. Bon Jovi has always been sober. I think he's like wore that as a crown of that. I've never really done drugs or alcohol. It's never been a part of my process. But I don't know.
Is that why his music sucks? Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was cool for a summer back in the day.
Shit, I did. What I think Bon Jovi, to me, he's just I'd always think New Jersey. I always think him and Bruce Springsteen is New Jersey.
Yep.
Okay. And it's a style of music. So what I've always hated is pop. I was listening to ABBA the other day. I fucking hated ABBA in '73. I still fucking hate ABBA. I was thinking maybe it'll be a little different because first of all, I'm not going to look and play ABBA, but it was in The Martian, the movie The Martian.
Yeah.
And I'm like, damn, that's ABBA. I hate that song. I mean, I hate that music.
Yeah.
And it's like a lot of rock and rollers hate disco. Man, there was some good disco, but see, I understand disco. I understand. The first time I heard disco, I'm like, what the fuck is this? Because the beats and the way the music, it was a song called Fly Robin Fly by Silver Convention, 1974. And they say now there was a few other, you had Kung Fu Fighting, Rock the Boat. I mean, I love music. So, bro, wow, we get that music for next hour. But anyway, the but there was some good disco. There was. But then
Yeah.
there was some shitty disco. Well, it's a lot of shitty disco, especially once white folks started making it. Giorgio Moroder and
Yeah.
that European trash,
Yeah.
fake band trash that was, put out. So anyway, but my main thing is I love music, all types of
Yeah.
music, but you know, if I was to listen to probably my favorite band today, if I'm thinking intellectual, that's the type of thing, is Tool. I'm just a
Yeah, for
big Tool
sure.
fan,
Extremely
and
intellectual band, vocally, beats wise. I mean, the time
David.
signatures,
I mean,
all of it.
Carrie got me through 91. I mean 2000. 2000 COVID. The drum cam.
Mm-hmm.
It got me through. I mean, I remember watching every YouTube video of that drum cam of him doing Numa.
Yeah.
Okay.
In his
And
basketball
just
jersey,
be
probably.
low. Yeah. Celtics. All right. Where do you want to go? Because we like I said, we
Yeah.
do music first.
I just want to make one more point that I think you would agree with. I think what it's always been for me about pop, and I'm not saying there's no pop that I like. There are songs that have
Right. Oh,
made it
for
through that
sure.
I'm like, it's a fucking great song.
Right.
Music to me has always been about authenticity. And I feel like pop's always been, along with like pop country and other stuff, just feels like it's made in a lab. Feels like it's made with what they think we'll like the best. It just never felt authentic to me. And there's so many people, like, look at someone like Beyonce, who has a writer's workshop and will have 20, 30 people on a track who wrote the song. So like that to me is what always separated me from pop and a lot of the stuff, is because it just didn't ever feel authentic to me.
It's interesting. So growing up with pop, because pop's been around forever. Okay.
Yeah.
So I started music, or really listening to music, in 69. Okay. So the big song in 69, 70 was American Pie by Don McLean. And then the
Mm-hmm.
Elton John started coming out, Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, Helen Reddy, I Am Woman and stuff. But then there was pop music that was marketed toward kids, or too, because what happened is the kids started having money, because you never marketed back in the 30s, 40s, and 50s, because they couldn't afford to buy records.
Right.
But now, because we got so wealthy as a country, so anyway, we start getting this pop that's going toward the teenagers, and you had like the Bay City Rollers, you had the Osmonds. I can go on. Man, my memory is still pretty good.
Pretty
But
spot fucking on, actually.
yeah, I'm serious. You go to roller skating rink and the Bay City Rollers, and a lot of that, Leif Erikson's, and a lot of that, the Partridge Family had songs.
Yeah.
And so funny, the Osmonds actually have had the biggest show in Las Vegas just a few years ago. And I met him at dinner one time,
The
and it's so
Osmonds.
funny. So I'm meeting this guy, and I'm sitting next to him waiting to go into the restaurant in Las Vegas. And my girlfriend at the time, she had like talked to him for a second, or met him. And so I'm sitting next to him, and I'm like, so what do you do? And he's like, and she's chuckling.
Yeah.
And he said, oh, I have a show here. And I'm like, oh, cool. What's your name? And he goes, Donnie. And then my girlfriend like elbows me. He says, it's Donnie Osmond. I'm like, oh shit. And he was, so he bought us dessert. Nice guy. But he had literally the biggest show. But I didn't never know Donnie Osmond, But again, so what pop is? Remember, pop stands for popular.
Yeah.
Led Zeppelin was popular, but but it wasn't pop music.
Right.
It was great. To this day, I still think Led Zeppelin is probably the greatest rock and roll band of all time. And I mean, I just went back over the last 2 years, and just wanted to reconsider. Do you still think they're the best? And I'm like, yep. I
I have
mean,
a
just
problem. I have a little problem with Zeppelin, man.
okay. That's no problem. I got
It's
no
not the
problem with it.
music. It's never been the music. It's been that their story of how many songs they stole from black blues singers who were penniless bothered me. And maybe they did
I
it better.
yeah,
You know, I don't know.
yeah, they did. They did it better. I'll be honest. I did not. First of all, they got sued. They had to pay. Okay,
Right.
I know that.
And
Okay,
now a lot of those men
and
are actually on the,
yeah,
the
yeah,
songwriting
yeah, yeah.
credits and so
No,
on and so forth.
for
So,
sure, for sure. Whoever, and I know a little bit about blues too. So I don't. And again, there was a whole genre of British blues. So what
yeah.
happened was the black blues. Nobody liked them in the United States, except for a real small contingent or percentage of blacks, predominantly Southern, or you had the Chicago blues scene, da 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 da. And then they go over to England and they love them. And people, Rolling Stones' first album is all blues.
Yeah.
You know, Little Red Rooster, that's blues. I mean, the first album, first couple of albums is blues. Okay. Manfred Mann's a blues. I mean, you can just go all these great British groups. Most of them started blues bass, Cream, blues. Okay. So Led Zepp, and that's Jimmy Page. When you say Led Zepp, you're really talking about Jimmy Page. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the content. Okay. And just he had, three phenomenal other, individuals in that band, and they did, do their part, but it was Jimmy Page. And, he did what they were doing at that time, which is stealing or using. And when you say stealing, what they do is you take the riff, you take the melody, you put some different words on it. Believe me, white guys in Britain were not saying, I want to be your backdoor man. Okay. That wasn't a part of their lexicon.
Right.
Okay. Go to a whole lot of love. I want to be your backdoor man.
Yeah.
Okay. 99% of people in England wouldn't know what that means.
Right.
Okay. And it's really a double entendre. It means two different things.
Of course.
It means I'm coming in through the back door.
Like
Okay.
I'm your side piece, essentially.
Yes, but I'm the leader. I come through the back door,
Mm-hmm.
so nobody knows on the front door like your husband.
Right.
Okay. Because a lot of the blues is about cheating. Okay. And then the other one is backdoor in a sexual connotation.
Right.
Okay. But the quote unquote, the original term has to do with coming in through the back door of the house or the shack or whatever
Right.
to engage in consensual relationships.
Right.
What a conversation. I love it, bro. I've never had one of these before.
Yeah.
Hey.
No, man. It's something that I think we both have a extreme passion for. I've been a musician for 30 years. I've played in Alaska a couple of times and been all over the country with it. It's something very, very important to me that I mean, fuck, dude. Probably neither of us would be here without it. You know what I mean?
It gives me so much joy. I'm just going to give you my top 3 videos, rock and roll, because I got videos in other genres. Top 3 videos. And so, all listeners, you want to go to YouTube and go directly to these. First one is Metallica, 1985, 86, Day on the Green, San Francisco, For Whom the Bells Toll, with the phenomenal bassist going crazy. And I love the bass line from Whom the Bells Toll. Who was the bass? I can't believe I can't remember his name.
Is that Kirk Hammett? Or was he the
No,
guitar
that's
player?
the guitarist. This is the bassist. It'll come to me.
Yeah, it's the only one I can't think of.
Yeah, me too. I can't believe it because he's a legend. He's a god.
Damn bass players, though. No respect.
Yeah, usually. But I love bass lines, so I'm a big bass
I do too.
guy. Number 2 is going to be Moscow, 1991, Domination, Parentero, Dimebag Darrell doing some of the most phenomenal soloing. He does 2 solos in there, which are just phenomenal. But just the energy in watching that performance. God, I had a third one which was different, but now I just got to go back to another one. It's Killing in the Name of. Okay, Killing in the Name of by what's the name of the band? I can't remember my
Rage Against the
brain.
Machine.
Rage Against the Machine. Yeah, we call them Radom. Yeah,
Roll
RATM,
Radom. Yeah.
Radom. But the key there is watching the lead singer. And this is the
Zach
live
De La
version.
Rocha.
Yeah, the live version from I think it's Woodstock. And how not even works it, but how he is so in to where he is.
Yeah.
Literally we're and working the crowd. It's not even working the crowd. He's singing the song, but he's singing it from his heart. And you said you always want or you look for authenticity. All three of these performances are three of the greatest. And I have 20 more, but those are the three I would just recommend.
I love it.
All.
Yeah, there's me and my daughter. So my son, he's 16. He's more into hip hop. I mean, he does. He's been to a lot of rock shows. He does listen to rock, but it's more his thing. My older son's actually my nephew that I raised after my sister died. He same thing. My daughter though, completely in tune musically with me. It's like we like the same shit. She's 21, and we go back and often watch. One of my favorite performances because I was there was Deftones '97 at this little tiny venue here in St. Louis before they were big, and it's just the energy, the feeling in the room was fucking unbelievable. And she all the time is like, man, I wish if I had a time machine, I just want to go to that concert with you, Dad. You know. But it's been fun to like watch her now like stretch out to see. She saw Deftones the other day. We go to a lot of concerts together. She goes on her own. It's just cool to like passing of the torch thing, you know?
Man, I wish I had that. So I was a Deftones fan, my summer, that was their big song.
My
And
own
they had
summer.
they had the album with the pony on it. It was a white album with the pony on it.
White
But
Pony.
the reason I loved them because I lived in Sacramento. They're from Sac.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the Sac town. And that was like the band, at least the rock and roll heavy metal band that came out and made it big. And so I'm a big, man.
There's
I
another
like
band out of there that never got big that I really
it
loved.
never got big. Okay.
They were from Sacto also. It was a band called Far. I don't know if you ever heard them.
No.
They ran with
Is it
Deftones a lot.
PH? Start with a PH?
Just FAR.
No.
And they like Chino from Deftones has a side project called Crosses, and it's with the guitar player from Far. But Far was they had one album, they were on Immortal Records, they looked like they were going to blow up and they just never did, but they're another Sacramento local band.
Wow. Yeah, there's so many. And I love the different bands. I listen to Ren. I like him a lot. I mean,
Ren's
you talking about
amazing.
talent. Amazing.
Yeah,
Just talent. And those who have talent, and then there are those who, again, who are popular or even really good.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'll give you an example. So the biggest thing, literally in the Black community was Drake versus K-Dot or Kendrick. And Drake is a very popular artist, and he put out some great songs, had his team put them out or whatever, wrote them for him. He has all these writers and everything. But the first time I heard Mad City, Good Kid Mad City, I'm like, oh my fucking God, this guy is phenomenal. I'm really good. I have really good ears on hearing incredible music.
Right.
First time I heard Luther Vandross sing. I'm playing basketball and the guy had the boombox. And he playing, the songs was going on. And then he played this song, it was a disco song. I'm like, who the fuck is that? He said, I don't know. Let me go check. And he said, it's this band called Change. And it was a song called Searching. And Change was a disco band. But the guy recruited Luther to sing on just 2 songs. And I was like, that's the best thing I've heard since Al Green or Marvin Gaye, period.
Yeah.
First time I heard it. Same thing,
What an
Nirvana. First time I heard it.
incredible voice. Yeah.
Kanye West. First time I heard it. I'm like, this guy's, I mean, there's talent. There's talent. Eminem. First time I heard it, I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
What is flow?
There are those moments where you just hear that band or you hear that song and you're like, oh, this is from another planet, dude.
Moments.
This is from another planet. This is not normal. This isn't regular. This isn't. Yeah,
doesn't happen a lot
pretty
either.
Incredible feeling.
It doesn't happen a lot. First time, I don't know if you've ever listened to Bon Iver. You ever listen to him?
Absolutely fucking love him.
Oh, I was like a little scared because he's unique, not heavy metal.
No, I love him.
He does a song which I think is one of the finest songs ever written called R.E. Stacks.
I don't know if I know that one by name.
Off his first album, it's called R.E. Stacks. I heard that song, and I must have played it 20, 30, 40 times, like in the next week, because I'll do that if I find something that good. Why not? It's like if you get a great meal, I still eat the same type of steak.
Yeah.
Watch I change up. Okay. Give me a T-bone, medium rare, and let's go.
Nobody takes chances like that, man.
Takes chances like what?
Musically, he just does whatever the fuck he wants, and I love it. It's so unique, and somehow, because there's such a fine line between unique and shitty. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you try to be different, and sometimes it just sounds like shit, and you're like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah.
That dude tries shit that I'm like, "What? What are you doing?"
Yeah.
Like
Lou Reed,
horns in weird places.
Frank Zappa. They did some weird shit.
Yeah, Bon Iver's incredible, man. Underrated.
I think he's you know what I don't think he's underrated. Every critic I've ever read who's, especially the first couple albums, Holocene and For Emma, they think he's phenomenal. That's one of the things I do is I go to criticisms because I used to write criticism, music criticism when I was in college and I was a program director. I mean, I love music, but anyway, he's underappreciated. I don't think he's underrated.
That might be the right way to say it.
Yeah. Because everybody I know sees him. I mean, Ren is, not underrated. I mean, you just look at him, he's fucking incredible.
Yeah.
Have you seen the stuff he does where he does like a song story?
Yeah. The ones where he's in the streets, the little village area and like shit. Yeah. Fucking wild, dude. And High Ren, his first huge hit was High Ren.
I know.
Him having a conversation with himself.
How about
I don't know if you know this too. He does all this. He does all these things in one take. Like he might do it 27 times, but he doesn't edit. But so he does everything.
He does the busking. And for the listeners who don't know what busking is, it's literally get on a street corner, pull out your guitar or your band, and you start playing. Okay, it's busking. And he does the one where he does I Shot the Sheriff. And it blows me away because people are doing these critiques of him. That's one of the things I would love to do, Zach, is I want to do a critique show of music. People are doing these reactions. And I want to do a reaction as a Black intellectual man who has a gamut of musical knowledge and experience. Okay, 50 years literally worth.
Might be a good show for Zach and Ken to do together.
Man, let's do it, bro. I'm not kidding.
That'd be so fun.
I don't play when I say I'm serious. If you want, let's holler after this. I know we're going to cut a lot of this out anyway, but let's holler and let's just do it. I'm the type. Just tell me when I need to be there. Let's pick a song or pick an album or have the callers call in. Whatever. I don't care because I can talk about almost anything except country. But
I'm not the deepest in country. I like the really authentic, like Red Dirt. There's some guys out there now who are just incredible songwriters. They're really authentic. They live in the country, but it's not my forte. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't even go there. But anyway, so I anyway, so they're doing a reaction to I Shot the Sheriff, this busking, very famous one he did. He does 3 songs. And it's great to get the reggae guys. But anyway, a lot of people are like, God, I've never heard it. Is this a reggae song? I'm like, how the fuck did you not know that, this is a Bob Marley song? Okay. And then it got famous because Eric Clapton did a cover of it in 73, 74, which then blew it up, worldwide fame. But it's originally Bob Marley and the Wailers song. Okay. But they don't know that because they don't know the history, and which is fine. I don't know a lot of songs from the early 60s. I don't, you know.
Right.
I mean, I go back to 65, first song. I was 3 years old, 4 years old, Downtown, Uptight, and Get Ready by the Temptations. Uptight by Stevie Wonder, Downtown by Petula Clark. Those are the 3 songs I remember from 65, 66.
Wow.
Yeah.
You've been through a lot of different musicians, man.
Yeah.
You've been through a lot of bands.
Mm-hmm.
I was just thinking about that the other day and just feeling some. I think it's important and something that I haven't always done to feel gratitude sometimes for just random shit. And I was thinking about how happy I am that I'm alive during, and I've been alive during Tool's best years and Deftones and all these bands that I really love. Like, man, I feel so fortunate to be able to be, in the world during some of this shit.
Yeah, same way. I never did finish the K-Dot thing. So Drake is popular, but K-Dot is a genius. He's a genius. He is in, that top 0.1%. To be able to take a song you did, Mr. Drake, and literally 6 hours later come out with the biggest song of the year. And literally, that was the third one you did in 24 to 48 hours that were all phenomenal songs. Meet the Grams, Euphoria, and then Not Like Us. I mean, who could do that? That's genius. The double
And
time.
I would assume he didn't have a team of writers either. He probably did most of that himself, if not all of it.
He did it all himself. But not only that, he had to. So if you get a chance, I don't know, I'm gonna say, tell the listener to do it. You're not gonna dive that deep, like K-Dot said, into the rabbit hole.
Yeah.
But it's phenomenal how he took a sample from DJ Mustard, but he had to manipulate the sample. So you have to work on the music part and then the lyrics. And to do this in the amount of time that he did to be as big and I want to do it. Folks, one day I want to do a reaction to that song, Not Like Us, but do a reaction just on the aspect of the disrespect in it. What is disrespectful to especially a black man by saying this?
Yeah.
You're just a ball boy. That goes back to the old Notorious B.I.G. UPS is hiring because your value is so low. You're just a ball boy. Okay, and that's what K-Dot said. Or, hey, you can get a job at UPS. They're hiring. Great line. I love B.I.G. You're talking about a storyteller.
Yeah. It's just his voice alone, man. Something about it. There's some people when you just hear them, you're like, and singers and rappers where you're just like, fuck, dude, unmistakable who it is. I mean, I love that. There's something
Lane,
about that, man. Yeah.
Eddie, when you hear Black, especially the unplugged version, Chris Cornell, again, how did grunge get 3 of the greatest of all time rock and roll singers? Yeah, literally. Just in that one period, 1991. It was 1991. 1 year. literally in a
the
3-month
death of
period.
hair metal
Well, hey, I was a Motley
was
Crue fan, so I wasn't a Poison fan, but I loved the Crue. I
Motley Crue's
love.
my first concert, Theater of Pain tour,
No,
first
no.
concert ever.
I'm hating. I'm
And then
hating.
I toured when I toured on Ozfest. I was telling you about Methods of Mayhem was on it, so I was touring with Tommy Lee for the whole summer.
Okay.
It was a
Yeah,
little
I
it was a
love
little
these.
strange because he was in his I'm sort of black phase. You know, like you walk by him and you're like, "What's up, Tommy?" He's like, "What's up, brother?" Like, come on, man.
Oh, I didn't know that. I
Aren't
didn't
you in
know that. I
Aren't you
don't
the
know
drummer
Tommy.
for Motley Crue?
Huh? Yeah. God,
Yeah, like aren't you the? Are you not a rapper, dude? I don't understand this fucking change of whatever, man. I never judged
yeah.
the dude. He was
So
he was a nice
but
guy.
remember, we're going back into that pop,
Yeah.
versus because there was some great rock and roll. You can call a hair band. Def Leppard
Yep.
put out a couple great albums early on. And then, again, Crew had some great stuff early on. I loved me some White Snake, David Coverdale, and their
Yeah.
singing, because I was really
I'm
heavy into rock and roll in 85, 86,
yeah.
But then,
I'm
once you got
gonna throw this in. I think
what
maybe
was
the
it?
best hair band song of all time. You're gonna hate it. Round and Round by Rat. One of my favorite songs from that whole era.
First of all, I
How
like the
many
song.
people are with
It
it?
was all right.
Yeah.
But I didn't even look at them as a like a hair band. I got more when your main choice for an audience is the girls, then you're going to lose me, because then you could go into the
Yeah.
ballads and the power ballads, and we're gonna have great time if we ever put the show together and we do some music. But once you get
That'd be
into
fun.
that, you're getting away from what I loved, which was, I love musicianship. And I
Yeah.
love, this is another thing. I could care less about the words. I thought Blinded by the Light was Wake Up with a Douche. I know what a douche was when I was 12 years old. I mean, that's a Bruce Springsteen song, okay? Blinded by the Light. Even though Manfred Mann is a band out of England, used to be another blues bass band, but they picked it up, did a cover, and it went like number one. But I thought it was Wake Up with a Douche. And I was like, ooh,
Yeah,
I was,
I think
12 years old.
everybody
Oh my
locked
God.
in on that. Yeah.
It's a
What was the other
douche.
one?
What?
Don't Bring Me Down, and it says Bruce or something. And everyone thought it said
Yeah.
Don't Bring Me Down Bruce, but it actually I looked it up, it's just a nonsensical word they threw in there.
Who was that? Don't bring me down,
I just
down.
I DJ like theme nights, and last night I was hosting a yacht rock night and I played that song. And I was thinking about it,
Really?
but
I'm thinking
I don't
Bruce
remember who it
Hornsby
was.
or something. I'm thinking Yacht
It wasn't
Rock.
Bruce Hornsby. Yeah, Bruce
But no,
Hornsby's very
not at
much.
all. No, it
Well,
was.
it was funny because last night it wasn't very busy, and there were a couple older dudes and some younger people, and it kind of went off the rails of yacht rock for a while, and it was like classic rock and other shit. I was just letting everybody. I mean, had 10 people in the bar, whatever the hell they wanted to hear. I was just playing it at one point.
Who did this song? I'm Not in Love. I'm not in love. I'm not in love.
I don't remember that one.
10cc.
Not sure.
10cc.
No, and it brings up someone else too. Another unmistakable voice, Michael McDonald. You hear that dude's voice?
I just read his book.
Wow.
And great. Obviously, a great book. Very interesting story in a lot of ways. He had his substance problems, like many. Definitely an LA vibe guy.
Yeah.
When you read his book and see how many great songs, especially from the 70s, he was like the backup
Yeah.
he did phenomenal. And then how he got into the Doobies, and then people will talk about the Doobies before and after, because it was a different band before he came in. And then he comes in, and a lot of people like identify the Doobies, take it to the limit, to the Doobies, but he wasn't one of the original members whatsoever.
Right.
They just asked him to come in for an album or to go on tour for like a tour. It was fun. It was very interesting. Great book. It was a really good book too, in a lot of ways. Really good book because it's also interesting to see what happens to people when they start slowing up. But
Yeah.
yeah, oh, great voice. I mean, I can talk about voices because I love, of course, a lot of soul ones, but again, the rock and roll, again, Robert Plant's phenomenal, phenomenal, especially when he does some of his blues stuff. Baby, I'm coming home, and I mean, just man. I'm trying to think who else. Mick Ralphs, so another good
Oh, not
one.
familiar.
Bad Company,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
Free,
You know
he's in
what's
Free
funny?
too. Hmm?
The singer of Bad Company, I heard not that long ago, I feel like. And
Mick Ralphs.
voice seems to be getting better with age. I'm just like, how does that
Really,
happen? A lot of
really.
people seem to deteriorate, and some people just get better, like a fine wine, man.
Did you remember a band called a song called Voices Carry?
Yes, voices carry. It's a girl singer, right?
Yes,
No, was
yes,
it?
yeah, oh yeah, very much. Um,
Oh, who was that? It might have been a girl. Was it a girl's name?
no, it was the band was Till Tuesday
Till Tuesday.
and
Yes.
Amy Mann.
Yeah.
Okay, 1982. I went to Dartmouth College. So I went to Ivy League. We used to go down. My buddy went to Berkeley School of Music, which a lot of well-known musicians
Yeah.
have come out because you either go Berkeley or you go to Juilliard. Anyway, he had gone to Berkeley for like a term, and anyway, he had a lot of friends there, so we went down to party. And that's what I went to do because I was an alcoholic and fraternity member with all my preppy clothes on. So I got to paint a picture. I got a polo shirt on, like I got one on now, but it's got to be Izod. So I had a little alligator. I have khakis and I have topsiders. That is the uniform. No socks. Okay. And I go down with my fraternity brother. We go down there, and he's like, "Hey, let's go to the club." And we go to this small bar in the Fenway area of Boston,
Okay.
and they had a live band. And for some reason, I didn't have my glasses or my contacts in. I always had a problem with my contacts. And I remember listening. I said, "Oh my fucking God. This is the best band I've ever heard live." I'm talking about in a bar,
Yeah.
ever heard live. And I'm like, "Who is this?" And he's like, "Oh, this band's called Till Tuesday. They had one Battle of the Band in
Okay.
um, in like Boston. Another band that had won Battle of the Band was Aerosmith, but 10, 15 years earlier.
Yeah.
Okay. Aerosmith is a Boston, New Hampshire band. And because they came up and played at Dartmouth, at the fraternity, I mean, it was crazy. Think about Aerosmith at her frat. But
Yeah. That's
but
wild.
shit, Pantera played the frat circuit, back in Texas back in the day. So anyway, phenomenal. So I listened to him. I said this is the best one. So when I leave there, we're coming back. When we were going there, I saw people taking kegs into this apartment. This is in Boston. And I'm like, shit, what's happening? Oh, this is the after party for TSOL. I'm like, True Sounds of Liberty? Awesome. They're a punk band out of Canada, out of Toronto. But I knew them because I was into punk music and post-punk. This is the Ivy League black guy from Dartmouth. So we're coming back. I'm drunk by this point. Man, I went into that part. And these are real punks. So what they do, at least the ones I met, what they do to meet each other, they spit. You spit on each other. I mean, they literally spit on each other. These were real punks. And this was the
Yeah.
after party. And here I am in all of my Ivy League regalia in this punk after party for True Sounds of Liberty. True story. And I had a great
Holy
time because
shit.
I can hang out
Yeah.
99% of the time. Zach, if you were on the circuit, if you ever went to Baltimore, the top rock and roll bar was called Hammerjacks,
Okay.
famous in the rock and roll world. It's huge. It had like 6 bars in there and had a place, bands could play and everything. But it was called Hammerjack. And the way they advertised it was a sound experience, on the match case, hammer
Yeah.
jacks. And anybody who's listening, call into Zach or send a comment, say, yeah, I remember hammer jacks because it was that famous. This is in the early 80s. Anyway, I'm in there again, prepped out in this rock and roll bar, but it's somewhat early, like 5 o'clock, afternoon, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. One of my fraternity brothers who's from Baltimore. So he's going, and he's white. I'm the only black person in there, only one that looks like a prep. And I remember I'm talking to these two rock and roll girls. What do you mean by rock and roll? Well, they had jean jackets on, jeans,
Right.
and they rock and roll. And I remember I'm drunk, so I keep asking him, what sorority are you in? What sorority? Shit. They barely graduated high school. Okay, they smoking cigarettes. They just like looking at me like.
Yeah.
And then my fraternity brother, he said, Ken, bro, we got to get out of here. These guys are looking at you. And he goes, I'm hitting on their girls, So what sorority are you? They couldn't spell college, okay? and hey, discretion is the better part of valor. So I left that one.
That's wild.
He pulled me out of there. Hammer jacks.
Well, we're knocking up on over the over the hour. Shit.
Way
over. Look.
You're gonna edit it.
There's other shit I wanted to get to with you. I might just check with you in a couple of months and get you back on. I wanted to dig deeper, and this would literally take another hour, but
yeah,
I wanted to dig deeper into stuff we were talking about earlier, where it was like a lot of solutions, almost all of them come in a mirror. It involves you looking in a fucking mirror. And I feel like right now, with the current climate of things politically, and by the way, I'm dead center. I think both kind of suck in ways. I agree with some shit, don't agree with others. How things are going in the realm of black and white right now. And I feel like the message that's not being sent enough is that the answers are in the mirror for white culture, for black culture, for left, for right. And everyone's so eager to attack one another. I would love to get deep with you on that. But like I said, I think that's a whole hour conversation.
Easy hour. Because a lot of it, of course, a lot of it's internal. But a lot of it's also tolerance. And I'll just do a riff on this real quick. So I talk on tolerance when I'm working with my guys and stuff. And I said, the importance of tolerance has to do with engineering. And they're like, what do you mean? What I mean is when you create and you design gears, there has to be space. So it can't be too tight. Because what will happen is if it's too tight, it creates friction. Because metal's rubbing against metal or plastic or whatever.
Right.
It's the same when you're like designing a house. A house has to breathe. I used to be in construction. House has to breathe. It can't be airtight. Anybody who's designing buildings can't be airtight. There still has to be. And so what happens is when you don't have tolerance, I'm right, you're wrong, black, white, there's no tolerance there. There's no gray. And what that does, it creates same thing it does when metal rubs against metal. It creates friction. And that's what we're dealing with right now is a lot of friction.
Yeah.
Okay. Because what I say, and this is the other thing is when, and I've learned this, I just learned this in the last 5 years. When you say or disagree with me, you're disagreeing with my argument. I used to internalize it. You're disagreeing with me as a person. Real big lesson for me to learn and understand. It's not about me. Now, there are times you could be trying to be about me.
Right.
But we talked about the respect, disrespect. But most time when I'm disagreeing, it's like I think you named one band, or I'll name a band that you may not find to be that great.
Right.
Or I said Led Zeppelin.
Yeah, and I pushed back a little bit on
with Led Zeppelin. I'm like, I'm cool with that. This is
Yeah.
what I know about the situation, but I'm still cool with it. You can say Led Zeppelin sucks.
Yeah. Right.
Probably 100 million people have said that in the last 50 years for whatever reason. Okay.
Yeah.
Disco sucks. No, not all disco sucks. You know, and that's another thing to talk about, or we can go into the one, is to get away from absolutes,
Yeah.
to get away from what we call binaries. It's either right or wrong. No, there's a middle line. That's one of the greatest things. And to be able to do that, you have to listen to other information.
Yeah.
So I have conservative sites I go to now. Hell, I was on Newsmax, which is a conservative station, plugging my book. So but I listen. I have probably three sites. Must Read Alaska is one of them, where it's a conservative site. So I can get the other side, because believe me, the progressive side has their side. And I'm going to tell you right now, I know it's bullshit. I know it's bullshit because I've lived that experience.
Yeah.
Of being homeless, of being an ex-offender. And this shit about, let's release some early. This had the big case 3 days ago. They released the guy that killed a 6-year-old with a knife and released him, after 8 or 9 years because he was not guilty because of insanity. All we could do is charge him with assault. But the way the law is written, that's not a violent crime. What the fuck?
It's crazy.
Fuck? So don't get me started. Well, do get me started, but we'll do it in another hour. Because I'll be passionate about it. I'll have evidence to back it up. And I'll have my opinion. You can agree or disagree. But let's have some tolerance. Let's not make everything binary. Start thinking about the gray area or the middle area. And then the most important thing is there are things that conservatives, and let's use a term, conservatives, I disagree with, but I understand why they think that way.
1,000%. Yeah.
I understand why. I have a lot of conservative. Check me. People can see me. I'm a black guy. That's how I identify in the world, in the United States. I identify in prison, on the streets. I'm a black guy. We've been talking about Sepultura. We've been talking about Pantera. Okay? We come in a gamut of colors and strengths. So just don't say, he must like rap.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. But you see what I'm saying? And same with you, Zach.
Yeah.
I've just heard you, and I can tell there's a gamut of things that you. So anyway, we'll have that conversation. I went off again. We'll have that conversation.
Yeah.
I'd love to.
A couple of thoughts that came to mind about that is I remember a time where I grew up pretty liberal. I grew up, my family was Democrat. I was never like, far left or anything, but I definitely still socially, I consider myself liberal. Even I don't even know if there's any deep thing that I agree with the conservative side on, but there's a lot of things simply that I do. And I say this to say that there was a point, and especially now I feel like it's really important. We have everybody's being fed algorithms. If you're on social media, if you're on the internet, everything is putting you in an echo chamber. And I'm glad that I made a choice years ago when I was very much getting those left-leaning Democratic algorithms. I did the same thing that you're talking about. I leaned into learning what the other side was talking about, and instead of just automatically discounting everything they said, I realized we all want the same shit. We all want peace. We all want prosperity. We all have different methods or ideologies on how to get there. Ideas on how to get there, and I think that's something that people need to lean into a little bit too. Have a little bit of understanding of the other side and realize that neither side is evil. Both sides are looking to just improve our way of life, and they all want different things. And the other point that I wanted to make,
you're a lot nicer than me, bro. Zach,
look, there are evil actors, and
this is there are people. I learned this in 10th grade. And my history teacher, Mrs. Jane Stoddard, phenomenal teacher, she said, Ken, 90% of history is what hits the back pocket.
Yeah.
It's about money and wealth and power. And when you have power, you have wealth. Okay, so it's about power and money. There's a portion that's sex related, because again, that drives. But the key thing is that by nature, there's a whole book called The Selfish Gene, but we're selfish, we're self-centered. That altruism has gone away. And for many people who make the policies or control the things, it's about power, ego. It's not about the what's best for the great majority or the majority of people, but it's the best that we have. And we got to ride it out. Whether you agree with the president or not, I still got to ride it out. There's things I agree with him on.
Yeah.
One of the things, I'm real conservative financially. I understand tariffs. They're
Yeah.
awesome. The reason he did it was awesome. I have no problem with it because I went to Wolf Street, Wolf Richter, and that site and understood macroeconomics and understand how that works. But I had the fortitude, not the fortitude, the wherewithal to seek out more information to understand how that worked. There have been some really good things that he has done. And then there's been some shitty things. But then every president's like that.
That's what I was going to say. That seems to be, I tried to explain this to my kids. I said, it's usually a 60% shit that I don't care for that a president does and 40% that I'm cool with.
But
I think that's just
why?
Always.
Why?
Yeah.
Why did they do it?
Yeah.
Why did we let 6 million undocumented workers come in? 6 million.
Plenty of answers for that. You know what I mean? It's
but I mean,
horrible
without
things.
the answers. But again, so you can make a decision to just open up the borders. Because we were born in the United States, our opportunity, our chance of being middle class and upper class are like 900% more than somebody born in Swaziland.
Yeah.
Okay. But there is a cost to open immigration. Canada, look, just do some research on Canada housing. Canada housing. When the average condo in Toronto is 1.1 million for a fucking condo.
Yeah.
Too many people, not enough space. That might be a house, but it's 1 point. Maybe that's a house. It's mind blowing. And specific, they had to change the whole government decision on immigration in Canada because they had so much pushback. Because again, economics. Now you're affecting me. I can't buy a house. I can't get an apartment as a 21-year-old coming out of college or, coming out of leaving my mom's house because you made a decision through immigration. And there's a thing called supply and demand. Okay?
Yeah.
All right. I got to get going too because I can hear my grandkids out there.
All right. Last thing I wanted to just finish on.
Sure.
We were talking about tolerance and gray area.
Mm-hmm.
I think people, when you talked about like if we disagree on a band or we disagree on an idea or even an ideology, those aren't you. Those are your thoughts. Those are things that you believe or think, and you should be flexible enough to change those things when new information comes along. So when someone disagrees with you, whether you're going to change your mind or agree to disagree, you don't have to take things personal. And I just wanted to make that last statement because I feel like so many people think if you're a Tool fan that's your identity, and if someone doesn't like Tool, you take it personal and things like that. I
agree with you
hope
100
people,
on that. I know you get no
I hope people
pushback.
can come away with these things, and I want to see people talking again. That's it. I want to see people being kind to one another and talking and being able to disagree without shooting people in the fucking neck. You know, like, anyway. Great episode, man. I look forward to talking to you again. We'll get together and talk about I got your email. We'll go back and forth about this idea of doing the reaction videos and stuff. Do you want to plug anything before where people can find you, find your books and stuff?
I have a book. Yeah, I have a book called Becoming Ken. It's on Amazon and it's also on Audible. And if you're interested, you want to hear more about my story, please feel free to get the book there. And if you want to reach out to me for any reason, it's Ken Miller 84 is my LinkedIn. It's probably the easiest thing for me to give to you. It's Ken Miller 84 is my handle.
Awesome.
Well,
I really appreciate you reaching out to me. I feel like I made a new friend, man. I hope we stay in contact at least, but it would be really cool if we can get this thing off the ground doing some kind of reaction shit. I've talked about doing it for
just look at
years.
Us, and I'll be like, this would be interesting. I think
that's exactly my point.
Yeah. All right, my man.
I agree. All right, brother. Well, thank you so much. Thank you guys for tuning in. Like, share, subscribe, all of that good shit. And glad you're still fucking here.